Hello and welcome back to Challenges and Icons. Today I'm in New York in the Absolut Elyx apartment talking to Tom Roberts, Director of Communications and Social Impact for Absolut Elyx. Tom is passionate in his belief that brands have a role to play in tackling some of the world's biggest challenges, both through their ability to impact directly and through their ability to raise awareness and drive cultural change through marketing initiatives. As well as providing 100,000 people with safe water through the partnership between Absolut Elyx and Water for People, Tom hopes to prove that doing well in business can and should go hand in hand with doing some good on this planet. So it's with great pleasure that I welcome Tom to Challenges and Icons.
Thanks for having me.
I thought we'd start off by just explaining to people that don't know much about you an interesting fact that when we did our research, we discovered that you, when you launched Absolut Elyx in partnership with Water for People, you actually walked 4 miles a day, carrying 5 gallons of water with your CEO, I think, for a whole month. That's correct.
For 1 week it was.
Oh, for one week. Okay,
yeah.
1 week. Okay. Well, regardless, that's a great achievement, and it must have generated a lot of great, coverage for you and linking the brand with the partnership. Regardless of the involvement with the brand, it strikes me from what we've learned about you, you'd have done that kind of thing anyway. It seems to be in your nature. And so my first question to you is do you think that people and brands of the future need this type of personality to make their mark?
I think well, it's an interesting example, the Walk for Water, because I don't see it as being an especially huge challenge. Because when you just look at the facts, it was really, almost 2 billion people don't have access to water. Millions, hundreds of millions of those people have to walk 4 miles a day to get water. So us spending 1 week in their shoes was, it's nothing remarkable. But I think it was very insightful for us to kind of understand. And so I think in terms of kind of being proactive, it was really about being proactive and being informed on what the issues are today. So from that perspective, I think the most important thing for a brand or to be relevant is really about being informed of what the issues that are important today. And then it's a very natural step once you become informed to take action and do something. And it doesn't have to be a huge action, it can be a small action. But I think once you become informed, you want to take action.
Yeah. And that you can translate into your your brand aspirations, and we understand from what we've read about the brand that Elyx is small but has big aspirations. Perhaps you could elaborate then on where you see Elyx going.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, funny in this context around challenges and icons, because we're certainly a brand that has an iconic name associated to us, Absolut Elyx. But I think in terms of where we're positioned today in this kind of luxury segment of the market, we're definitely a challenger. And it's when you look back over the history of some of the big brands with even just taking the vodka space, they've usually been connected to some cultural movement and either played a role in it or been part of it or catalyzed that change. So, Absolut back in the 80s was really connected to the artistic movement and self-expression, and that manifested itself with modern street artists of New York, and then also being a huge advocate for gay rights. One of the first brands to really do that. But then come on 20, 30 years later, and the emergence of Grey Goose, and a brand that came around at about the same time as culture started to shift, and it became more about me, about showing off, about excess, about showing you've made it. And that was really the right brand to make that happen at the time. And they were a catalyst for that. So when I talk about our ambition for Elyx, I think we want to be a brand that's an icon that stands for something, and it stands for a cultural movement. And it's a movement that we feel is going to be a huge part of our culture today. And that's this sentiment of authenticity, of making it cool to care again. You know, it's not cool to be the guy in the room who's just spent, you know, $1,000 on a bottle he doesn't even know what's inside.
Yeah.
It's we want to be a proponent of a culture where it's cool to really know what you're buying and really buy something that has purpose.
Yeah, and real value attached to it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting, the nature of luxury and all the different manifestations of it that you're talking about. And we're sitting in a wonderful apartment, which is the Absolut Elyx apartment, which is a manifestation of the brand in a physical context. It really brings to life its values and its aesthetics. Lots of flashes of copper, which of course is inherently linked to the actual distillation of the product and the copper still. So perhaps you could tell us a little bit more about this in the context of new luxury and the other creative and marketing tools that you've got, and the type of authenticity and that you want to see your brand connect with a modern type of consumer.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, it's the perfect space to be having this discussion. And you know, for us, when we created Elyx, and we wanted Elyx to be a vision of progressive luxury, I think we needed to create a fully immersive experience around that. And just the vodka and just the bottle, I mean, it's an incredible vodka, but it doesn't fully portray exactly who we are as a brand. So when we created this physical space, I think it really allowed us to express that. And when we think of Elyx, we want Elyx to be about authenticity, about warmth, about playfulness. I mean, we're a vodka, it should be fun. So I think with this space, that's what we really endeavored to create, something that was really warm and inviting.
And of course, there is another manifestation of it in Los Angeles as well. You have another apartment as well there, and that follows the same style and design and values as well.
Yeah, to a degree it does. I mean, I think when we were creating these spaces, we wanted to be part of ourselves, but also a reflection of the city that we're in. You know, we're not a kind of a fixed entity. So the house in LA is, yeah, it's warm, it's playful, it's very inviting, it's luxurious. Of course, we're a luxury brand, but it's pulling a little inspiration from kind of old school Hollywood and a lot of the kind of glam that was there. And so it's a little brighter, it's a little more kind of tropical and maybe even more playful in nature. And I think that's a little bit of the reflection of LA. And so I think that combination of who we are as a brand and who the city is as a personality is really interesting. Yeah,
and we were talking before we went on camera about how the investment in these apartments, your own space, is really a sort of a direct reaction to the sort of almost the old ways of doing things, where if you needed to have an event, you would set something up and it would cost a fortune to do that, and then it would just be torn down and thrown away.
Yeah.
So this is a much more of a sustainable way of kind of connecting the brand experience with your luxury values and authenticity.
Yeah, and I mean, in a sense, I mean, we looked back at, you know, a few of the events that we did, and we would always endeavor not just to go in and create a bar and put a sign up and then be done. We'd really want to bring our values to whatever occasion it was, which is, you know, it was an expensive and wasteful operation, because you build everything up and you break it down and throw it away. But then even more than that, it would get us halfway there, but it didn't feel like it was fully immersive. So the advantage for us in creating a permanent physical space that we can use time and time again worked on so many levels. And I think just for people to walk in here, you know, the impact is so big.
Yeah.
And for us to be able to utilize these spaces again and again, you know, I think it's a different model on how to create experience around a spirits brand. I don't think anyone has really done this before.
Yeah. So this space, which has got a very strong reflection of this raw luxe positioning that we see Absolut Elyx owning, is really at the forefront of reframing a luxury brand experience. So clearly you agree, because you've built that, you've made it happen. But can you tell us a little bit more about the experiences that people may get when they come here, and what they may, you know, how that reflects the new type of luxury that you see going on?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think the first thing is, for us, this new luxury is about being warm and inviting. I think there is a traditional view that you would go into a space where it's that room in your house that you're too afraid to sit on anything because everything is so pristine.
Yeah.
And we wanted to create something where it felt like you could just hang out. And I think that's, you come to an event at the Elyx house, we'll have a copper disco ball on the ceiling spinning around, and it'll be fun, it'll be inviting. So I think it's about being unpretentious and welcoming, and that's what people can expect. And then all of the details that come with it. Of course, the drinks are exceptional. We work with the best bartenders to make sure every drink experience is amazing, and not just in its taste and its presentation. It should look beautiful. And then, in terms of the food we have at our events, it's not, we're not serving like steaks or giant lamb chops. We're working with a restaurant here in New York that we've been working with for years, and they have a relationship with the farmers in upstate New York, and they source everything direct, and it's all that kind of more like veggie forward food, which we see as being a much more progressive view than this kind of an excessive luxury.
So, it's certainly exudes authenticity and warmth, and the flashes of copper everywhere, kind of are perfect in terms of doing that. And you can certainly get the impression that you'll be able to kind of just kick off in here, just relax, and just at the same time kind of understand and learn and sort of engage with the brand. So it very much reflects this idea of authenticity and integrity, which is, I know, something that how you want to position the Absolut Elyx brand. So what do you see as the most important quality or influencing factor for today's brand model then?
This is a good question, because I guess it's a lot of, it can seem like a lot of elements here as well. We're sitting in this space which is seemingly quite disconnected from the actual product. But I think when you distill everything down, one of the most important elements for brands today is purpose. And it's a lot of things that people don't think about. What is your purpose as a brand? And that should go above and beyond, making whatever product it is that you're making in the best possible way. That's a given. Of course you're doing that. And for us, our purpose is really about being a vodka of integrity, made the right way, behaving the right way, and being a very kind of welcoming and hospitable brand experience.
Yeah. Having purpose and making an impact, I think, are kind of truly connected. So it's just 2 years old and doing well. So let's talk about innovation. You've just got to market. There's big pressure in today's kind of world to talk about speed and innovation. Do you think that's what's behind success in today's fast-paced and immediate, on-demand world?
Yeah, it's. I think it's of course it's a balance, and we're kind of 2, maybe 3 years into the U.S. market now, and if I look at the first, 1-2 years, it was not fast-paced at all. It was very slow. It was very deliberate and very focused. And I think what hasn't changed around our brand was our values, but what's changed a lot is our expression of that. And like any new company or any new brand, your values stay consistent, but your execution of those changes. And you learn, and we were learning ourselves of what we felt was right. And I think where speed comes in is when you feel like you have the recipe right, and it's starting to resonate, and you're starting to get traction. I think that's when speed is very important. But I think, protecting the brand in the beginning to experiment and learn from your mistakes is important as well.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a two-phase process, I would say.
Yeah, I can really understand that. And so 3 years in, you're finding your feet, you're creating a huge amount of kind of impact with the kind of the product, the space we're in, and the way that you're kind of exuding the brand values and the integrity behind the way the product is and how it connects with people. So thinking about the experiences that you've been through, what's the best advice you could give to some startup that may be operating today?
I think it comes back to what I mentioned earlier on about knowing your values and what you want to stand for, thinking about your purpose. And once you have that established, I think then being, having the freedom to be very flexible in the execution of that. Because I think a lot of us can fall in love with an idea, an executional idea that doesn't necessarily fit with your purpose, or it doesn't fit with the market, or it doesn't resonate as well as you'd want. And you have to be able to move on and learn from that very, very quickly in the beginning. I think my advice is spend a lot of time thinking about your values and your purpose, and keep that as your North Star. But then don't be afraid to experiment and learn in how you execute that.
Yeah. So understanding your values and your purpose are key. We hear this as a theme which is coming strongly through in terms of the way that you are building the brand. And when I look at the world of vodka, where I think you can learn pretty much all kind of like branding and marketing lessons just by understanding that category, you feel that this is a differentiating attribute for Elyx within that premium luxury sector that will help give you that space to be understood and stand out.
I really believe so. And I think it comes back to this cultural transition I think we're in right now, of the days of kind of bling and excess dying away. And I think for us, we're much more about, as we said, about kind of integrity and authenticity. And our expression of that and our passion as a team